Well, WHO would like to thank the organization for inviting WHO to take part in this such an important conference. And I personally would like to thank Hailey and Charlie for thinking about having this essential surgical services panel in this important conference. Otherwise, most of the time, surgical care is the neglected stepchild of any health, global health or politically or anywhere. And I'm going to make a case for you. Needless to say, we've heard such excellent speakers before. I'm not going to delve into what is the unmet surgical need. Surgical conditions account for 11% of the global burden of disease. This has been already suggested by Debas et al. In the Disease Control Priority, the book by the World Bank. And I think that was the first time a chapter on surgery was addressed in a World Bank book. At the same time, most of the other articles were also in WHO coming up with recent studies saying that 1.2 million people die per year due to road traffic accidents, and 50 million are injured. Disaster is another area where surgical care is needed, but still it's not accessible to the rural and the remote population where they do not have access to these basic surgical services. Childbirth is another place where the latest figures, 360,000 million women die due to pregnancy-related complications. Of these, 2 million living with obstetric fistula, just because there is lack of emergency and essential surgical care. Very simply, small babies. 200,000 babies per year are born with clubfoot. You may wonder why I took such a simple procedure, clubfoot. It should be treated, and yet we are having children on the streets begging because they could not get such a simple intervention which could have been at the district and sub-district level. Burns, we just heard Afghanistan one example, but there's several. And women are the most affected with burns. Not only are the children and the women affected, they live with these disabilities, and this becomes a stigma. And there is no care, no accessibility to even at the first referral health facilities to take care of these simple procedures which could be done. We have to think surgery, everybody in their opinion, surgery is something very costly, high technology, only in the operating room. But you have to think of surgical intervention as something so basic. If you meet with a road traffic accident or a woman bleeding, whether she's bleeding because of pregnancy-related complications, or is it domestic violence, or is it road traffic injury, whatever is the cause, there are certain first aid which may require suturing, may require stopping the bleeding. All this is surgical intervention, and they have to be done at the first referral health facilities. You may want to call it the district hospital, you may want to call it the health center, or it's sometimes the even small health centers which do not have doctors, and these are the paramedics which treat. So surgery is actually at the very, very first referral health facility point. The inequities. 234 million major surgical procedures are performed per year globally. But what happens? The poorest third of the world's population benefits only from 3 to 5% of these interventions. This is a study that I picked up from Lancet. Therefore, to summarize, there's actually lack of access to timely life-saving and disability preventive, emergency and essential surgical care at the district and sub-district level. We have to think back. We are talking about all the Millennium Development Goals. We talked about strengthening health systems. We're talking about all the neglected diseases. But if you look at all the causes that I mentioned just now, basically, lack of surgical services at the district and sub-district level the impact is huge at the district health systems. Even though we are talking about strengthening health systems, but we have to start addressing surgical services. Why is that? Because it is at the first referral health facilities, the personnel, the health provider, it may not be adequately skilled. They may not have the equipment that is appropriate. Therefore, they are unable to do the procedures. You are looking at an oxygen cylinder. You may think this was not functioning, but this is a functioning oxygen cylinder in a district level hospital, about 100-bedded hospital in the emergency room. That is not even called the emergency room, but it is where the first time the patient comes. And this is a functioning functioning oxygen cylinder. You can see that how it's tied with bandages and with whatever to put the flow meter. The other you can see is the anesthetic machine. That itself is lacking. Here, this is from Afghanistan, operating room. And sometimes, first time when we were doing a workshop, I was surprised that so most of the doctors, they say they're surgeons, but I was surprised when they said we want to also learn anesthesia. And I thought, okay, that's great. Surgeons are wanting to learn anesthesia. But later on, I was told actually why they want to learn anesthesia is because, first of all, there's no anesthesiologist, and even there are few of them. But when it comes to surgery, they also want to do anesthesia so they don't have to pay more to another health provider. So I didn't realize that for everything there is, I'm not saying this is for whole of Afghanistan, but what I'm trying to say is that anesthesia is the most neglected. If you're saying surgery is the most neglected, anesthesia is even more neglected. Nobody thinks about anesthesia, how it is the core. If we want to improve surgical care, anesthesia has to be improved as well at the same time. So considering all this, as I said, the unmet surgical need, for the first time in 2004, WHO realized this, that there needs to be a responsible team. And for the first time, this program was established, which is the Emergency and Essential Surgical Care. And we were tasked that this unit will be responsible for clinical procedures. Very clearly it was tasked to us, it is in surgery, orthopedics, obstetrics, and anesthesia. And this you can see for the first time there was a shift in thinking, because normally disciplines are not put. WHO is all about prevention, and this was clearly a need where WHO addressed it, that we have to have a surgical care unit. For the first time, a health topic was given as surgery. For that, I had to debate for almost 2 years before this topic's surgery was given as a health topic, because they said it's not a health topic, it's a discipline. And I said, yes, but if you put surgery, it will be like surgical care, and it will be the whole thing. So with great difficulty, I got the topic surgery. Now, a lot of you, and many of you here, and this is a great forum because all the universities are involved, academia here, all of you are involved in efforts in the low and middle income countries. Many of them are sometimes isolated efforts. So there was a need. A lot of people gathered in 2005, and I'm very proud to say that Dr. Debas was the first chairperson there, who we all gathered, and they said we need to have a global forum. And people in WHO were asking, why should you need a global forum? There's for maternal health, there's for so many other global forums. And people said, no, this should be a global forum where emergency, surgery, anesthesia, like-minded people would come together, and then we could put our unified efforts together, and then we would address this unmet surgical need. So this is the first time a global forum formed in December 2005, which has multidisciplinary stakeholders. And it is not only a club of surgeons or anesthesiologists, but it has many people. It has pediatricians, obstetricians, health economists. It has people who are interested in paramedic training, nursing, etc. For the first time, WHO developed a WHO global database on emergency and essential surgical care, which included anesthesia, emergency services, and surgical services, which includes trauma and obstetric care. The Global Forum is, as I said, is all about partnerships and coordination. The Secretariat sits with us in the WHO, and basically the aim is to have access to basic emergency anesthesia and surgical care. Every 2 years, a meeting is held, and this global meeting is mostly hosted by the Ministry of Health in whichever country it's held. And people sit together, these more than 100 participants, they sit together to form, first of all, report on the progress on what has happened in 2 years, of how they're doing the country work using WHO tools and working with us. The next day is meant for the roadmap. What would they want as a group to do and focus? And the result of one of those meetings, which was in Tanzania in 2007, resulted in this global database and the need for evidence.